War Eagle, and welcome to another edition of Ever to Podcast, our show where we try to inform you on the latest Auburn news, topic, discussions, information, things that you need to be aware of as a member of the Auburn family when you're trying to go out and about and discuss the Auburn experience. All about Auburn sports, Auburn culture, Auburn family. The easier way to say it, though, if it's orange and blue, it is what we do. So thank you so much for joining us in what we're doing today here on Ever to Podcast, episode 93. Today's date is March 27th, 2026, and as always, I'm your host, Kyle Loomis. The agenda is always the same, but we'll remind you, for those of you that may be new, our goal here is to catch you up in the different categories, primarily of Auburn sports news throughout the week. Monday leading into Friday, since you're listening to this on a Friday, so there'll be things that come out on Friday or in the weekend we won't be able to cover, obviously, because that's in the future. I digress. And then at the end, we'll catch you up on the calendar event for a weekend for sports and other things. But there's always going to be sports, some culture, and family mixed in all of this. Let's waste no time and jump right into it so you can catch up in the Auburn experience. We'll start off with baseball, as we have tended to do over the last couple of weeks, and probably will be for a while here, with it being the focus along with softball in the spring sports calendar. Baseball obviously had a very big week last week, and the results could have been a little bit better, but I think all in all it was an excellent, solid week. Everybody was excited about it. But after losing to Texas twice, you saw a little bit of the drop in the rankings for Auburn baseball. So no longer a consensus top 5 team. They would now be considered a consensus top 7 team because one perfect game has them at 7. Baseball America has them at 6, and then everybody else has them at 5. So as high as 5, as low as 7, we'll just call it consensus top 7 team after the busy week and weekend that Auburn had, with a lot of hype built around it. Auburn baseball bounced back in nice form, though, playing in Montgomery in the capital city, taking on South Alabama, who they played there a lot. And it's been a little bit closer at times, but not is the case with this Auburn baseball team. As I said, bounced back in fine fashion, ruling the South Alabama Jaguars by the score of 10-0, and got out of there in an early fashion. And that was by way of a big home run from Chris Rembert, who sent us home on a very fine fashion. So go check that replay out if you haven't. The Tigers, as I said already, bounced back. We'll now move into some conversations around some softball news. Now, there's some updated rankings, things out there that you can go look at. This is the DSR Top 25 from D1 Softball, similar to D1 Baseball, group that covers and ranks these types of things. You're going to find Auburn has cracked the top 25 previously, but they've moved up now 5 spots, and this is where they didn't even have an SEC schedule. Or SEC weekend. They just played some midweek games with some non-conference regional opponents and obviously took care of business there, but they have moved up and further into the top 25 based off of those rankings. Just like with baseball, they had a very good and successful midweek, but Auburn softball took on 2 opponents. Auburn versus Florida A&M, the Rattlers, they beat them 8-3. And if you haven't seen this play from Havana Roebuck, you need to go watch it. It's literally a great Sports Center top 10 play. I believe they put it on there. I don't know where it ranked at in the Sports Center top play, but it's a behind the back, essentially like I guess you could call it a throw. She had to reach behind her back, pick up the grounder that she was picking up, and throw it to first base. So it was a great play in that particular game. A little bit of a shout out here. We love to, when people come back to Auburn, we want to always make sure that they show them the love. We want to show them the love. Brittany Scott Beal, you'll remember her from former Auburn softball teams. She is now coaching Florida A&M. She came back, obviously, and we were able to welcome her back visiting Auburn again. Auburn softball game 2 in the midweek, 6-3. They beat South Alabama. Stop me if you've heard this before. Auburn beat South Alabama in something. Baseball, softball a couple times here. Men's basketball. The Jaguars are having a tough time when it comes to facing Auburn as of late. Moves us into some men's basketball news right now. We are going to start with Elijah Freeman being named to the academic all-district team. You'll start seeing some of these awards start coming out as we move further and further to the end of the year. The NIT rages on, and your Auburn Tigers are still victorious. Not only have they already advanced past the first 2 rounds, they hosted the final home court or the playing at different colleges, and you being a host site, that being Auburn. got to host the Nevada Wolfpack. They beat them 75-69. In fact, Auburn really should have beaten them by more. Once again, a team they allowed. The team just got hot, whatever you want to say. Somewhere in the middle of all that is probably what happened. Got hot and made this a little bit closer and interesting at the end, but the Tigers are victorious as the number 1 overall seed and continue on to Indianapolis to play in that version of the Final Four. Before we move on to that, though, shout out to, as we talked about with softball, whenever former players come back, we want to make sure we give them the shout out. Jared Harper was in town for this quarterfinals of the NIT, watching the Auburn Tigers be victorious, which brings us to the real Final Four. I'm just kidding. The Final Four for the NIT, Auburn versus a surprise, I think, Illinois State. They, as the 4 seed, upset the 2 seed. So that was pretty interesting to see that come out of there on that side. And so that's who Auburn will face, or the 1 seed on that side too, I guess I should say. They will have their game Thursday, April 2nd at 8:30 p.m. Eastern time. So keep that in mind, or Central time, excuse me. I always get that mixed up. Central time, 8:30 Central time. You'll want to keep that on your calendar for next week as Auburn looks to potentially go play for an NIT championship. And that is your updated schedule for them. Other cool things that are starting to come out towards the end of the year when somebody makes a record, things like that. This was an interesting one for me I saw come through that they shared. The freshman steals record doesn't go to Todd Pettiford last year. Maybe it did, and this guy just broke it. I don't know. Wasn't expecting this. Sebastian Williams-Adams, one of the big men, 44 steals. He breaks the freshman steals record. Go figure. But I think that speaks to his athleticism and how versatile of a player he is, even as a big man, and why he was so highly coveted for Auburn and for others as well out there. So congrats to Sway. This is probably the bigger, or I shouldn't say the bigger or biggest news, but just the one that I think got people excited as we look towards next year, even though we're still focusing on the NIT. Brian Cloman will now become Auburn's, officially, their new basketball GM. Now, he comes over from Louisville. There's connections with the Pearl family, with Stephen Pearl back at Tennessee, I believe. So this one makes a lot of sense from their connections, all that kind of stuff. And a lot of people are saying this is a very important offseason and you want to have your GM set and ready to go. So for those of you that were concerned that things would not have time to get rolling to prepare for next season because they went to the NIT, this kind of shows you that they've already put the pieces and are starting to move the pieces into place to take care of that. So that seems a little bit of an unfounded concern. Just remember that when we start panicking about things way too soon, and we just need to enjoy and be thankful for the things that we get sometimes, that being the NIT tournament. On the women's basketball side, just a quick little shout out. We have now reached the 1-year anniversary of Coach Larry Vickers being here. A rough first year for him, and we were kind of expecting that, but there were some high points in that as well. But congrats to him for making it 1 year as the Auburn women's basketball coach. Gymnastics is still going on. They are in NCAA regional time. And despite all of the struggles in terms of trying to defeat a team outright, they're still having some pretty good scores throughout the season, and especially in SEC competition. They have still found a way to make NCAA regionals with their scoring. So they will be in Baton Rouge at that regional, April 1st through the 4th, and they will find hopefully a way to continue on into super regionals, and who knows what from there. They've battled injuries, all that stuff this year, so I'm glad to see them continuing to fight through. So be looking for that April 1st through the 4th. Gymnastics is still underway. Now let's move into golf. Y'all know what I'm about to talk about, right?
Yes, you do.
They're doing pretty good. Now, they did not win their particular events this time around. Valspar Collegiate they get number 2 overall in the Valspar Collegiate, but they were number 1 for the longest time in that. I mean, we can't win every single tournament, so you understand there. It's maybe we got to throw the other teams a little bone from time to time, but still doing very strong in their spring season, that being men's golf. Now, because of how they're doing right now, the individual clipped, which is, I think it's also scoreboard by clipped rankings for golf. They have the team rankings, but they also have the individual rankings. You have the number 1 person, Jackson Coyven from Auburn. You have the number 25 person in Jake Albert for Auburn. Also the next 2 for Auburn, 31, Josiah Gilbert. And then who probably was the star last go around here, Caden Pope, comes in at number 46, all in the top 50 on that ranking for scoreboard clipped, however you want to say their name. But there you go. Individual rankings. Obviously, you knew Jackson Coyven was going to be at that number one. Just a quick little side story, maybe a great opportunity for you to support the men's golf program. They're going to be hosting on April 2nd at 6 p.m. in Franklin, Tennessee, an event to support their program, the Singer-Songwriter Dinner, which is going to feature Rhett Atkins, Chris DiStefano, Eric Dodd, all of them, and obviously the golf team. So you can go have dinner with them, these singers and songwriters, and support the men's golf program if you're in Franklin, Tennessee up there. So keep that in mind for ways for you to support your programs, especially men's golf. Equestrian, big weekend for them coming up. We'll talk about that in the calendar. SEC Riders of the Month came out. 3 Auburn Tigers, Caroline Buchanan in reining, Avery Glenn in the flat, and Ariana Marnell in the fences. Not a shock there with the number 1 overall Auburn equestrian team as they head into postseason play here with SEC's coming up. More rankings. We're still in the rankings talk here. ITA rankings came out for the men, number 23 overall, so still finding a way to stay in the top 25 with a big week coming up for them playing some ranked teams. And the biggest news in tennis of the week is on the women's side. After already getting to what used to be their highest ranking of number 3 in the ITA rankings, they eclipsed that and go to number 2 this week. The number 2 overall team, the highest ranking in the ITA in Auburn women's tennis history. I've been telling you, trying to drive this into y'all's skulls as Auburn fans. You need to be paying attention to this women's program this year. They are in position to compete for a national title. Speaking of which, dominated Mississippi State this week, 7-0. They never stood a chance at that rate. So they're doing well. I want to give a shout out to track and field here as we cover something for them. They're doing a really good job of putting out some graphics. For those that struggle to keep up with what to get excited about in track and field, they did it for the whole indoor season. Now they, at least for this Yellow Jacket Invitation they just took part in Atlanta, just the big takeaways for you to know what. So here's a recap of what happened at the Yellow Jacket Invitational for Auburn in their outdoor season. 11 individual event wins, 11 national top 10 marks, 2 relay event wins, and 1 Auburn freshman school record. So obviously a very successful Yellow Jacket Invitational for Auburn in Atlanta. More track and field news, SEC Runner of the Week. We've been getting a lot of these lately, and that goes to Mickey Dupree, who becomes the SEC Runner of the Week. It's nice to see a new name in there because we've got some people who are always there. Speaking of which, Bowerman Award watch list updates. Of course, Jacoby Thart's still on there. Ajayi is still on there as well. Not a shock there. Keep in mind both 2 Tigers being on that watch list for essentially the Heisman of their field, essentially. It's pretty dang cool. And 1 is enough. 2 is better. Some shout out for some Auburn football things that maybe I'll just recommend for you. Certainly you can keep up with all the stuff that's going on in spring practice. We've got press conferences and interviews and clips from that. Make sure you're checking all that out. They had Pro Day this week as well. But there's been some podcasts and things coming out. Adam Brenneman of Next Up is doing his All-America tour. He stopped by Auburn, shared some clips of going into the facility, meeting with coach, all that kind of stuff. So maybe a good resource for you to look into. Takeo Spikes, I think for about a week now, has had his episode out sitting down with some Auburn people, especially coach. So that would be another good one. Look up his Behind the Mask with Takeo Spikes podcast. Just some things for you to know as an Auburn fan and to get involved with so you can be more informed. Quick overview for some overall Auburn athletics news stuff. The ambush events are going to be coming up later on this year, May 4th, May 11th, May 7th as well. And I think another date I'm missing here too. But tickets are now on sale, I should say, for Nashville, for Birmingham, and Destin. So if you're wanting to be part of that, where you'll get to see coaches, all that kind of stuff, and be part of those events, those tickets are now on sale if you want to check those out. Speaking of Auburn in the pros, mentioned Pro Day. There's a full list of players that were participating in that for Auburn. Big news also this week, I should have mentioned this in the football side, that Chris Murray went from thinking he would be participating in Pro Day that he got an extra year of eligibility. So that was exciting news for him. So he was not part of this Pro Day event for Auburn. But you're going to have names on there. Obviously, James Ash, Kieran Crawford, Keldrick Falk, Brandon Frazier, Jay Hardy, the list, Reed Hughes, the list goes on and on. You can check that out on their social media, see clips. We shared some from the athletic department as well. And some, there's interviews out there as well with a few of the guys too. So hope that we are looking at the next wave of Auburn guys heading to Sundays in the NFL. Certainly there are some big time prospects in there, but maybe a few diamonds in the rough as well for you to be paying attention to. Other Auburn in the pros news. How about opening day in the MLB? It's come and gone. MLB is going now by the time you hear this. So Auburn right now, at least what they put out, has 5 different guys that you need to be paying attention to as part of MLB. Ryan Bliss is one that you'll be very familiar with. You've also got Edouard Julien with the Colorado Rockies. Ryan Bliss is with the Mariners. You've got Detroit Lions, Bailey Horn. I forgot there were 2. That's what threw me off. Bailey Horn and Casey Mize, both pitchers, are with the Detroit Tigers. And then finally, big news this week, the 46th Auburn baseball player to make it to the big leagues is Ryan Watson with the Boston Red Sox. So congrats to him. Congrats to Auburn baseball for adding to their long history of putting people in the big leagues. And finally, before we move to the calendar, just a bit of a reminder, this week they hosted what was called Tiger Giving Day, an opportunity for you to support things at the Auburn University level, in the athletics department, all that stuff. Auburn Athletics was really pushing, giving towards their initiative of helping with the mental wellness, the mental health of their student athletes through an initiative they were doing. If you want to support that, support other things like the Raptor Center, academically, projects that they're trying to put together, or club teams or things like that, visit tigergiving.org, and you can still do that. They reached their athletic goal for that single initiative, and there are others out there that still need some support, so go check that out for Tiger Giving Day. Now that finally brings us to our schedule of events for the weekend to wrap up our show. That's everything from the week of Monday to leading up to Friday that you need to be aware of currently. Here is your schedule, though, for Friday the 27th of March, 28th, and 29th. On Friday the 27th, swimming and diving will be wrapping up for the next 2 days in Atlanta. The men's swimming and diving program, been telling you a lot. There's a lot going on in Auburn with Atlanta lately. And they're not quite done yet with some other sports, too. So if you're in Atlanta, make sure you are taking the opportunity to go see some of these programs there. SEC competition is coming to Auburn, and that is in the form of the Equestrian SEC Championship will be hosted by Auburn. They will take on Texas A&M in the first round, and for the next 2 days, it will continue on. Hopefully, Auburn will win that opportunity to hoist that trophy at their home space. Men's tennis versus LSU on Friday. Softball and baseball will begin their series with Missouri for softball and at Alabama for baseball. Saturday, track and field at the UAB Spring Invite. Women's tennis will host Alabama. Volleyball will host Troy. So there's a lot going on campus that you can get excited about. Soccer at Mercer for their spring competition as well. Gymnastics, I'm sorry, that was last week. I didn't take that one out of there. Softball and baseball will have game 2 of their respective series with Missouri, and then baseball at Alabama. And then Sunday is pretty chill. The wrap-up of both those series, softball, Missouri, Alabama at Auburn at Alabama, and then men's tennis will be hosting South Carolina. A big matchup for them in Auburn. With all of that in mind, that is your schedule of events, and that is all the information that you need to know to be well informed on the Auburn experience, Auburn sports, Auburn culture, Auburn family. If you want to keep up with me, you can do so by reaching out, e2cnetwork@gmail.com. DMs are open on all our social media, which we hope that you're following out there as well. And we appreciate you being here and being part of our little family within the Auburn family. As we go, I remind you the Auburn Creed asks you to do justly, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with God. We ask you to do the same thing. War Eagle.